From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome tonight. PDP leadership crisis deepens as Abdurrahman Mohammed's caretaker committee says the appeal court ruling validates its authority, while Tanimu Taraki's NWC insists it remains legitimate. President Tinubu submits the 2026 FCTA statutory budget to the Senate for approval, seeks confirmation of Taiwo Oyedele as minister. World Bank approves a $500 million financing package for Nigeria's sustainable power and irrigation project, targeting improved food security and efficient national water management. And explosions reverberate in Tehran as U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth warns today will bring the most intense day yet of American strikes on Iran.
On business, the Central Bank of Nigeria introduces automated anti-money laundering monitoring systems to detect suspicious transactions in Nigeria's financial system.
On sports news tonight, the Nigeria Football Federation, CAF, and World Football Governing Body, FIFA, paid tribute to the first indigenous coach of the Super Eagles, Adegboye Onigbinde, who died at 88.
And from Abuja, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike guarantees that the Abuja University of Technology will officially commence before the conclusion of President Bola Tinubu's administration.
We begin with politics and the leadership crisis in the People's Democratic Party. The PDP may continue to linger as the two contending groups, namely the Abdurrahman Mohammed Caretaker Committee and the Tanimu Turaki National Working Committee, continue to claim leadership of the party. At two separate meetings held in Abuja, the Abdurrahman Mohammed Caretaker Committee of the PDP insists that the judgment of the Court of Appeal on Monday validates his leadership and urges members to go ahead with plans for a national convention to elect principal officers for the party. However, both the PDP Board of Trustees, led by former President of the Senate, Mr. Adolphus Wabara, and governors of Oyo and Boja states regard the judgment as a reawakening call, appealing to members not to despair.
It's an expanded meeting of the PDP Board of Trustees, led by the former President of the Nigerian Senate, Adolphus Wabara, to review the outcome of the Court of Appeal judgment on Monday. The objective is to determine what steps are to be taken following the judgment that invalidated the Ibadan National Convention.
We need to talk to the judgment of yesterday. This time around, in fact, the board considers the judgment an order for the party to begin again.
The judgment of the Court of Appeal, Abuja Division yesterday, it becomes imperative that our leaders must sit and then consider the situation on the ground and then come up with workable and implementable options that will save this party.
Although the appeal court judgment on Monday invalidated the Ibadan convention of the party, the governor of Oyo State urges members not to despair, describing the development as a phase that will pass with time.
This period will also go away. It will pass away. So whatever role we want to play as individuals and collectively as a party, we must be conscious of what history is going to record against or for us.
The meeting then enters into closed doors. Moments later, journalists were readmitted into the conference hall where the National Publicity Secretary briefed them.
several ideas, legal, social, political, emotional, came up as to how to ensure that these two things happen. Number one, that PDP does not die. Number two, that PDP will be on the ballot. The discussions will continue tomorrow, and at that point, we are certain that firmer approaches to achieving this will have been attained.
Elsewhere, the PDP Caretaker Committee, led by Abdulrahman Mohammed, also held a conference to review the Court of Appeal judgment. The committee believes that the judgment validates its leadership as it urges members to commence plans for a national convention.
Yesterday, we are all at the appeal court, and the court delivered a judgment on 9 appeals in our favor. I want to make it clear at this time that the National Caretaker Working Committee remains the only national leadership recognized by the law and the party.
We intend to wait for the appeal court judgment. And like the chairman has clearly said, the appeal court has given mandate for this national committee to continue the affairs of the party. So by the time we get the enrollment order of the party by today tomorrow, we shall go back to our normal.
Both contending groups within the PDP agree that the reconciliation is the way to go. It does also appear that the way to that reconciliation is a long one, and members from both camps are yet unwilling to explore that option.
To the National Assembly, where the Senate has received the 2026 statutory budget of the Federal Capital Territory Administration from President Bola Tinubu for consideration and approval. The letter conveying the budget proposal was read today on the floor of the Red Chamber by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, during the resumption of plenary after a 3-week recess for the budget defense exercise. In a separate correspondence, President Tinubu requested the Senate to confirm Mr. Taiwo Oyedele as a Minister of the Federal Republic. Our National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Umezoke, reports.
Lawmakers in the upper chamber resumed plenary after a 3-week break, during which committees conducted budget defense sessions with various government institutions. In his opening remarks, the Senate President drops a reminder that the Senate is not a theater of debate, asking citizens to channel all concerns through elected representatives.
I therefore encourage Nigerians everywhere, engage your representatives. Bring your concerns to those whom you have entrusted with the responsibility of speaking for you. For it is through the instrumentality of representation that grievances are transformed into policies and concerns into actions. The Senate is not merely a theater of debate, it's a workshop of solutions. Where social media magnifies the noise of the moment, the Senate addresses the substance of the problems.
The Senate President then proceeds to announce in a series of correspondences from President Bola Tinubu the request for confirmation of Mr. Taiwo Oyedele as Minister, potentially replacing Doris Uzoka Anite as Minister of State for Finance.
I'm pleased to forward to the Senate for confirmation the nomination of Mr. Taiwo Oyedele as Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The Senate also received the 2026 statutory budget of the Federal Capital Territory Administration from President Bola Tinubu for consideration and approval. Other requests by President Tinubu for confirmations are also read on the floor.
I'm pleased to present for confirmation by the Senate the following three names of the nominees as chairman and commissioners of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. Senator Magnus Abe as chairman, Engineer Jeshi Paul Yaro as a non-executive commissioner, and Mr. Sunday Adebayo Babalola as non-executive commissioner. Request for confirmation of Mainasara Ilo as executive secretary and chief executive officer of the Nigerian Anti-Doping Center.
The Senate also received requests by the President for confirmation of 2 nominees as Commissioners of the Revenue, Mobilization and Location and Fiscal Commission. The nominees are Amina Gamawa from Bauchi State and Abdullahi Makhtar from Kaduna State. In the meantime, the Senate has announced the defection of Senator Ikpanibo Banigo, representing Rivers West Senatorial District, to the APC from the PDP. Following the lawmakers' defection, the number of the APC senators in the chamber has increased to 80, bringing the total number of female lawmakers within the APC caucus in the Senate to 2. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umedoke, Channels Television News.
Nigeria's ongoing reforms in passports and visa processes will improve efficiency and make services more accessible, particularly for Nigerians in diaspora. And that's coming from the Minister of Interior, Mr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo. He was speaking during the strategic partnership meeting with the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, in Abuja. In the bid to modernize the nation's immigration services, the reforms, according to the Interior Minister, will not only enhance service delivery, but also strengthen immigration management systems.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, is at the Ministry of Interior for this strategic partnership meeting.
The World Public Relations Forum.
The meeting is convened to strengthen interministerial collaboration and enhance public communication regarding internal security.
We want to strengthen the communication that we have with the Ministry of Interior. We recognize the fact that we are doing so much here, trying to bring clarity to especially the processes of visa and other immigration issues, and of course what you are also doing in the reforms you are also doing in the correctional service and other sectors. So we thought that we should come here and align our messaging so that we get to know better, learn from you more. What is it that you are doing?
In response, the Minister of Interior emphasized the importance of the partnership to improve clarity on information dissemination to the public, particularly on national security. He also used the occasion to highlight the reforms in passport and visa processes.
We introduced what we call a contactless passport application system, which gives you, once you're in diaspora, you can renew your passport without going to the embassy, just with your phone, and it's couriered to your house. And when you go online, you will see Nigerians applauding government for that. One, it saves people of money, it saves them of time and stress. Since 2023, we've been able to issue more than 3.5 million, over 3 million passports. It's been issued. It's no more a problem once you are in Nigeria. And again, the integrity of our passport has also been high. So we are not sacrificing the integrity of our passport on the altar of speed. We are balancing both.
He also speaks on upgrades on airport infrastructure and Nigeria's centralized passport production system.
The same paper you use to personalize passports is the same paper you use to print money. It's the same security paper, the same printing. But what did Asiwaju inherit? He inherited a scenario where Nigerian passport was being printed, personalized in over 90 locations. So how can your passport be taken as a serious travel document anywhere in the world? Nigeria now boasts of a centralized passport personalization center in Abuja.
As Nigeria continues to confront evolving internal security challenges, this partnership is expected to enhance public understanding and reinforce confidence in government's efforts to safeguarding lives and property. From Abuja, Victoria Longjohn, Channels Television News.
In energy news, the Dangote Petroleum Refinery has reduced its ex-gantry petrol price to 1,075 naira per litre, marking the first price cut after 3 successive hikes that had pushed the cost of the commodity significantly higher in recent weeks. According to the refinery's latest pricing template released on Tuesday, now the reduction represents a 100 naira drop from the previous rate of 1,175 naira per litre. The refinery also announced that petrol supplied through coastal distribution will now sell at 1,050 naira per litre. The price of diesel has equally been revised downward, falling to 1,430 naira per litre, a 190 naira reduction from the prior price of 1,620 naira per litre, offering further relief to consumers and businesses dependent on the fuel. Now, the company noted that the quoted gantry prices exclude statutory charges imposed by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Now, the reduction comes after a run of sharp upward adjustments. On Monday, the refinery raised petrol prices to 1,175 naira per litre, up from 995 naira per litre on March the 7th, and then 874 naira per litre on March the 2nd. Increases attributed to the surge in global crude oil prices, triggered by the ongoing conflict involving the United States, Iran, and Israel. Now, the price cuts on Tuesday coincided with a notable easing in global oil markets as crude oil prices dropped to $90 a barrel, the first decline since the Middle East war began, providing the refinery with room to pass on savings to the consumers. In part two, after the break, the Special Offences Division of the Lagos High Court, sitting in Ikeja, Lagos, adjourns indefinitely on the trial of businessman Fred Ajudua over an alleged $1,043,000 fraud. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you have just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. PDP leadership crisis deepens as Abdurrahman Mohammed's caretaker committee says the appeal court ruling validates its authority, while Tanimu Turaki's NWC insists it remains legitimate. President Tinubu submits the 2026 FCTA statutory budget to the Senate for approval, seeks confirmation of Taiwo Oyedele as minister. World Bank approves $500 million financing package for Nigeria's sustainable power and irrigation project, targeting improved food security and efficient national water management. And explosions reverberate in Tehran. Israel's Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth once today will bring the most intense day yet of American strikes on Iran. President Bola Tinubu has directed the immediate deployment of about 100,000 compressed natural gas conversion kits across the country in a bid to address the impact of the war in the Middle East on the cost of transportation in the country. Now, the executive chairman of the Presidential Initiative on Compressed Natural Gas, Mr. Ismail Ahmed, made this known after meeting with the president at the State House in Abuja. Mr. Ahmed said the president is keenly monitoring global developments and their impact on Nigeria's energy costs, particularly the effect of the Middle East conflict on fuel prices and transportation.
The president had given a direct mandate that we should immediately deploy about 100,000 kits, that we are working with so many other stakeholders that would incentivize and get it into the market immediately and be able to convert a lot of vehicles and tricycles for people to be able to access gas. And then he also gave a directive that we must be able to fast track the infrastructure in bringing gas and CNG and electric mobility charging infrastructures to every part of the country, especially within the northern corridor, so that a lot of people will be able to access this. He wants us to move quickly. So we have about 100,000 kits that we're going to deploy in the next 2-3 weeks. That the conversion centers will all be bustling with a lot of conversion activities. We have a proposal that we're going to deploy a lot of vehicles and tricycles that are by CNG and electric mobility as well. And that's what we are doing. And then we have about refilling stations, about 77 that are all in the different stages of being developed. In Kano right now, we have about 2 LCNG stations and about 5-6 daughter stations that are coming up as well. Along the corridors from Lokoja all the way to Abuja, Kaduna, Zaria, Kano, all the way to Maiduguri. These are all places that we are going to litter with a lot of refueling units. So it's something that we're looking forward to. The president wants results delivered very quickly so that Nigerians will be able to access the CNG and electric mobility.
The World Bank has approved a $500 million financing package for the Sustainable Power and Irrigation for Nigeria project aimed at enhancing national food security and water management. Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Yusuf, disclosed this during the steering committee meeting and flag-off project in Abuja.
This is part of efforts to commence the implementation of the Sustainable Power and Irrigation for Nigeria project, which aims to provide sustainable power for irrigation and hydropower to boost national food security, economic growth, and environmental sustainability. The meeting is chaired by the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Usev, who is joined by officials of the World Bank, the Federal Minister of Power, and state governors. Professor Youssef is chairing the steering committee that will oversee the implementation of the project, which is focusing on irrigation modernization, dam safety, and effective project management.
I am pleased that today's meeting affords us the opportunity to review the progress made, address emerging challenges, and provide strategic direction for the next phase of the implementation of the Spain project.
While the delays in the project effectiveness were beyond our control, we are now in a race against time to deliver our promises by the closing date of December 2029.
After speeches, the meeting moves into a closed-door session to review the action plan for the committee. After some minutes, the meeting is opened to the public. The project is a $500 million World Bank-funded program targeting the development of 500,000 hectares of irrigated farmland and is expected to generate up to 30 gigawatts of sustainable energy while improving the country's resilience to climate-related risks.
And tap into key value chains for agriculture. SPIN targets to rehabilitate 40,000 hectares of irrigated area, and as demonstrated under trimming, is expected to leverage further private investments to expand irrigation through farmer-led irrigation development.
Indonesia has close to 2,000 dams, but most of the dams are actually 30, 40, 50 years old. Massive siltation, reduction in water storage capacity. Same in Nigeria, you have 400 plus dams, massive siltation, lack of proper maintenance. As a result, your storage has reduced. And water storage is your best defense against both flood and drought.
The highlight of the event is the official flag-off of the project, which will be implemented in at least 23 states that have met the threshold to qualify as beneficiaries.
To the courts now, the Special Offences Division of the Lagos High Court sitting in Ikeja, Lagos, has adjourned indefinitely the trial of businessman Fred Ajudua over an alleged fraud of $1,043,000 fraud. Now, Justice Mojisola Dada adjourned indefinitely after entertaining the submissions of the counsels in the matter. Now, Fred Ajudua is standing trial for allegedly defrauding a Palestinian, Zad Abu Zalaf, of the sum of $1,043,000 under false pretenses. Now, the case, which began in 2005 before Justice Mojisola Obadino of the Lagos State High Court in Ikeja, encountered several delays due to legal technicalities employed by the defendant that stalled the proceedings and complicated his arraignment. The matter was subsequently reassigned to Justice Josephine Uyefeso and later to Justice Mojisola Dada, before whom Fred Ajudua was finally arraigned on June the 4th, 2018. Following the denial of his bail by Justice Dada, Fred Ajudua appealed to the Lagos Division of the Court of Appeal, which granted him bail on September the 10th of 2018. Dissatisfied with the appellate court's ruling, the EFCC appealed to the Supreme Court. The Commission also filed a separate appeal challenging the appellate court's decision to transfer the case from Justice Dada to another judge to commence afresh. Now, the proceedings on Monday, the Defense Counsel, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Olalekun Ojo, informed the court that the defendant had filed a motion on notice before the court. According to him, the Court of Appeal granted bail to the defendant and also ordered that the substantive suit be remitted to another court to commence. Now, the senior counsel to the defendant submitted that he was relying on the case of Fred Ajudua versus the Federal Republic of Nigeria 2019, where the Court of Appeal gave a similar interpretation on the transfer of the case to start de novo. In response, the prosecuting counsel, Seydou Ater, told the court that he received the application late on Friday. He adds that although the Court of Appeal granted bail to the defendant, the judgment contained no order directing that the case be transferred to another court. After listening to the submissions of both parties, Justice Dada struck out the motion on notice and adjourned the matter indefinitely. Meanwhile, counsel to Fred Ejudua has also filed another motion at the Supreme Court on February the 24th this year, praying the Apex Court to set aside its earlier judgment delivered on May the 9th, 2025. Now let's head to Taraba State, where at least 45 persons have been confirmed dead following the outbreak of Lassa fever. Now, the state epidemiologist Yakubu Akentemo disclosed this to Channels Television in an exclusive interview, where he revealed that 96 positive cases are still being attended to. According to him, residents unknowingly bury Lassa fever patients and contact the ailment through body fluids, which escalates the spread instead of calling the Safe Burial Committee to handle such cases. Still ahead on the news at 10, Central Bank of Nigeria introduces automated anti-money laundering monitoring systems to detect suspicious transactions in Nigeria's financial system. That's on Business News, so please join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. Let's now head to the nation's capital, and Victoria Longjohn is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Over to you, Victoria.
Thank you, Ayo. FCT Minister Nyesom Wike is promising that the Abuja University of Technology, Abaji, will commence operations before the end of the administration of President Bola Tinubu. Mr. Wike made this known during his thank you visit to the Abaji Area Council, where he also upgraded the status of all second-class chiefs in the FCT to first class. Our correspondent Kumbi Aboluwade reports.
It's day 5 of the FCT Minister's thank you tour across all area councils in the FCT, and this time it's the turn of Abaji. The re-elected chairman of the council appreciates the FCT minister for his support and makes some requests.
We won the election with a total vote of 15,535, which it is first of its kind. All thanks to you and Mr. President, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, we want to tender our passionate appeal, pleading for the completion and approval for the commencement of University of Science and Technology, Abaji, Your Excellency.
In his response, the FCT minister makes a promise.
But let me assure you what you should know. Under this president, that university will start operation. With the emphasis here, you have shown how important that university is, not only to the people of Abaji, but to the entire residents of the Federal Capital Territory. So be assured, I will be happy, and I know I will be the one that will declare open the operation of that university.
He also announces the upgrade of all second-class chiefs in the FCT to first class.
Let me tell Mr. Chairman of Council to get a design for the Palace of Honor for Abaji. By the powers conferred on me, all the second-class traditional rulers have been upgraded to first class.
The construction of the Abuja University of Technology started in 2011. It's situated on a 500 hectares of land. However, 15 years after, academic activities is yet to commence in the institution. From Abuja, Kumbi Aboluwade, Channels Television News.
To company news now, Zenith Bank PLC is reinforcing its commitment to gender inclusion and female leadership. At the Civic Center in Lagos, the bank hosted its second International Women's Day seminar, rallying industry titans and policymakers under the theme, Take It, You Own It. The event serves as a platform to move beyond conversation and into the active empowerment of women across the continent.
As the global community marks International Women's Day with the theme, Give to Gain, Zenith Bank is shifting the gears of the conversation from permission to possession.
And when I see women rise, I'm inspired to rise even higher.
For Dr. Umelji, the choice of this year's theme, Take It, You Own It, is a deliberate call to action A reminder that seats at the table are rarely given. They must be claimed.
We chose this theme because as a woman, you have inherent capabilities and strengths in you. And it is important that we recognize, own and use them confidently to take advantage of opportunities as they arise. Let's remember that opportunities can lead to success only when they are claimed. Knowledge becomes impactful only when it's applied, and legacy can be measured by how many lives you have empowered.
The seminar drew high-level endorsement from the corridors of power. The First Lady of Lagos State, Dr. Ibijoke Sanwo-Olu, and Salamatu Gbajabiamila, representing the First Lady of Nigeria, both lauded Zenith Bank for transforming our commemorative day into a sustainable engine for social impact.
Many women and girls across the world are still denied access to education. Leadership positions in many sectors remain unevenly distributed along gender lines. I find the theme adopted by Zenith Bank for this year's celebration, "Take it, you own it." It speaks to courage, accountability, and intentional leadership.
Across Nigeria, women are already making remarkable contributions in finance, technology, agriculture, entrepreneurship, education, health, science, governance, and many other sectors. These achievements clearly show that women possess strong and effective leadership capacity.
The keynote address is from Honorable Dr. Abike Dabiri-Arewa. The NITCOM chair challenges the audience to look beyond borders and recognize the global potential of the Nigerian woman.
To all of us, every woman, every girl, every ally, let's rise up and take ownership of our lives, our communities, and our world. We are capable. We are strong. We are unstoppable. We are unstoppable. Let's say that again. Nobody will stop us except ourselves, and we shouldn't let that happen. As we move to the top, as we rise to be everything in the world, let's remember family.
Now, in its second year, this gathering has become more than just a seminar. It is a testament to Zenith Bank's broader strategy of driving inclusive economic participation and ensuring that for the Nigerian woman, the glass ceiling is no longer a barrier, but a floor.
One, your left on the all right, great.
And that's it from Abuja. It's now back to Aya for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Dufil Primo Foods, makers of Indomie noodles, has announced the opening of entries for the 18th edition of the Indomie Heroes Awards, an annual initiative that celebrates Nigerian children for their bravery, honesty, and selflessness in the face of danger. While speaking at a press conference in Lagos, company officials reaffirmed their commitment to inspiring and recognizing young Nigerians whose courageous acts contribute to building a brighter future for the country.
Our social media handles.
This press conference signals the start of another nationwide search for young heroes as Dufil Primo Foods, through the Indomie brand, continues the tradition of recognizing children who display exceptional courage, leadership, compassion, and resilience in the face of adversity. Since its inception, the Indomie Heroes Awards has honored dozens of children whose inspiring acts of bravery and kindness have continued to motivate millions across Nigeria. During an interaction with journalists to announce the 18th edition of the awards, organizers shared further insight into the vision behind the initiative and its impact on society over the years.
Heroism to different people might mean a lot of things. So if you see a child who risks his or her life in rescuing or saving somebody else, right, that is quite heroic. Somebody who has been made a hero, somebody who has been recognized and celebrated in our domain, we have the right to own that recognition. We have the right to celebrate with them, and that's what we will continue to do.
Organizers say 2 key updates have been introduced for the 2026 edition: an earlier call for entries and expanded eligibility, with more than 1,000 nominations expected nationwide.
We felt that every year new stories are received, and we've also asked that children 16 years can also apply. It means that 16 years below will apply, and asking that, this because we know that there will probably be a monetary increase in terms of the award, and we want to do this, we want to use this as an opportunity to also amplify more than enough, so that children who have not been part of this will join the race as well. So what we've asked is that for children who want to be part of this, even children, parents, teachers, and anybody who wants to be part of it, we should just go to heroesofnigeria.com. That's the website, and it's user-friendly, and you can submit your stories depending on what category that you want to put in for.
As a caring brand, Indomie, we are only here to support and bring their stories to life, and also make their stories known to as many people as possible and inspire them to do bigger things in the future.
As preparations begin for the grand award ceremony later this year, nominations are open across the country. Families, schools, and communities are encouraged to nominate children whose actions deserve recognition. Winners will be selected in 3 categories: social bravery, physical bravery, and intellectual bravery.
Also in Lagos, one of Nigeria's leading fintech companies, PalmPay, is empowering young women with digital skills and career opportunities through the 3rd edition of its Purple Woman Masterclass in celebrating International Women's Day 2026. 10 lucky participants in the program will also secure internship opportunities with the company, giving them a direct path into the tech industry.
Excitement and celebration mark the finale of the PalmPay Purple Woman 3.0 Masterclass, a program designed to empower women pursuing careers in technology, as the world marks International Women's Day 2026.
You must absolutely.
It is a value-packed day, as the program features a stirring keynote address on building self-worth, a masterclass on thriving in male-dominated industries, and an insightful panel session on designing world-class products.
Self-worth has 3 pillars, right? And the very first pillar is yourself, your own personal self-awareness. And that is the first pillar of self-worth, a thorough self-awareness. Knowing our strengths, knowing our values, and our own unique perspectives that we bring into the room.
Leadership role is not by, I have power. It's about confidence, competence, visibility. How well are you bringing yourself out there?
For a product to actually be successful, it means that it has local acceptance in each market that it goes to.
The most anticipated moment arrives as the 10 participants selected for internship opportunities with PalmPay are officially announced, chosen from a cohort of 100 trainees.
I'm taking a lot of things home. It was so impactful and insightful. The data analysis class, the HR class, all the sessions were very, very impactful and eye-opening.
What I expected was just to actually just attend some online class and just maybe pass time because I'm jobless now. Even coming today, I didn't really expect to win because we were selecting 10 people. But PalmPay gave me this beautiful opportunity that I do not take for granted.
Speaking outside the event, Managing Director of PalmPay Nigeria, Chika Nwosu, says the initiative reflects the company's commitment to building an inclusive digital workforce where women can thrive.
I trust that a lot of them are very brilliant and a lot of them will make a lot of impact. Our objective is to grow a lot of women to a leadership position in the tech industry. And I believe that many of them, in the next 10 years, some of them will become managers, deputy general managers, some might even become EDs or even MDs of some organizations.
The event wraps up with awards for speakers and facilitators, marking the final moment of this year's PalmPay Purple Woman Initiative.
on business news, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has introduced new regulatory measures aimed at tightening oversight of financial transactions and combating money laundering across Nigeria's banking and payment systems. In a circular issued to banks, mobile money operators, international money transfer operators, and other financial institutions, the Apex Bank directed regulated entities to deploy automated anti-money laundering monitoring systems to detect suspicious transactions more effectively. The new rules require financial institutions to adopt technology-driven tools capable of tracking transaction patterns, flagging unusual activities, and improving reporting mechanisms to regulators. The initiative is designed to strengthen Nigeria's financial integrity and prevent illicit funds from flowing through the banking system. And the domestic equities market closes in negative territory, led by losses in MTN Nigeria. Willie Bong tells us more.
Thank you, Dominic. Now, at a time when we're seeing positive sentiments return to other major global equities, Nigeria's stock market is going in the exact opposite direction. The all-share index reversed Monday's gains by a huge chunk. More than 0.5% down today, 0.57% to be precise, taking down the profit we saw yesterday. Profit taking is definitely taking center stage. We're seeing 196,066 points for the all-share index, and that's after crossing the 197,000 threshold for the very first time ever on Monday. Now, very negative market breadth today with 32 gainers and 41 losers. And we have big players across key sectors we track shaving off their share price. So looking at the sectors, we see consumer goods sector, PZ Cousin, NASCON, Nigerian Breeze, Unilever, all lost in the tug of war between the bull and the bear. Oil and gas is letting off a bit of steam here after profit taking, profits from rising global oil prices. Banking now, we see that down for a second straight day. Investors are not giving this a breather. A bit heavy on the sell-off in that counter. But the biggest icing on the cake appears to be MTN Nigeria, losing as much as 17 naira today to close at 773 naira. And global oil prices are easing on comments from U.S. President Donald Trump that the Iran war is pretty much over. But market watchers will definitely be keeping an eye on volatility. And that's the stock market report. Will Ibong signing out.
Thank you, Will. Now let's see the snapshot performance for other major equities.
Many thanks, Dominic. Well, Simon Pusey is up next with international news and around the world in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Our generation understands this fight.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says today will be the most intense day of U.S. strikes on Iran so far. He said Iran had fired the fewest number of missiles in a 24-hour period since the war began. Mr. Hegseth said Iran's new supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, would be wise to heed Donald Trump's message not to pursue nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, the U.S. is looking at options which would enable the military to escort vessels through the busy shipping route, the Strait of Hormuz.
That race to a nuclear bomb, President Trump will never allow it. Not now, not ever, not on our watch. The mullahs are desperate and scrambling. Like the terrorist cowards they are, they fire missiles from schools and hospitals, deliberately targeting innocents, because they know their military is being systematically degraded. On day 10 of Operation Epic Fury, we are winning with an overwhelming and unrelenting focus on our objectives.
Lebanon's president has called for direct negotiations with Israel as part of a proposal to end the escalating conflict with Hezbollah, while sharply criticizing the Iran-backed group for dragging the country into a wider regional war. A spokesperson for President Joseph Aoun said that Lebanon was ready to negotiate, but not while the country remained under Israeli fire. Speaking during a virtual meeting with senior European Union officials, Aoun outlined what he described as a path towards permanent security and stability arrangements on our borders. Israeli officials have shown little sign of backing negotiations, and the government did not immediately respond. The family of a girl critically injured during a mass shooting at a Canadian school is suing ChatGPT maker OpenAI, claiming it had been aware the suspect was planning an attack, but failed to alert the authorities. 12-year-old Maya Gabela was shot in the neck and head in the attack in Tumbler Ridge on the 10th of February and remains in hospital. Van Rootselaar was banned by OpenAI in June 2025 due to the nature of her conversations with the chatbot, but Canadian police were not notified. OpenAI said it was committed to making meaningful changes to help prevent similar tragedies. 8 people were killed in the attack, including 5 young children and the suspect's mother, in one of the deadliest shootings in Canadian history. Madagascar's military ruler, Colonel Michael Randrianira, has dissolved the government unexpectedly, dismissing the Prime Minister and the entire cabinet, according to a statement from his spokesperson. No reason was given for the move. Randrianirina seized power last October from Andry Rajoelina following weeks of youth-led protests on the Indian Ocean island. Rajoelina had been elected president for a third term in a disputed poll in 2023. Volkswagen has said it will cut 50,000 jobs in Germany by 2030, as its profits dropped to their lowest level since 2016. Chief Executive Oliver Blume told shareholders that the cuts would take place in Germany and fall across the entire group, including Audi and Porsche. Europe's largest car maker said post-tax profits had fallen by around 44% in 2025. It said it was hit by US import tariffs, intense competition from China, and high restructuring costs from the shift to electric vehicles. The firm projects a recovery in the coming year, but its finance chief stressed that it would have to focus on rigorously reducing costs. Uber has launched a feature allowing female drivers and passengers across the US to request trips with other women in the ride-hailing app. The feature was piloted in the US last year and led to women feeling more comfortable in the back seat and more confident behind the wheel, according to a statement. The rollout comes despite an ongoing class action lawsuit in California filed by Uber drivers who argue the move discriminates against men. Uber said around 1/5 of its drivers in the US are women, although the ratio varies by city. And the Italian state has bought a painting by the Baroque master Caravaggio for €30 million, one of the largest sums it has ever paid for an artwork. The country's culture minister said the work was one of exceptional importance and its purchase part of a wider plan to prevent major artworks from being bought by private collectors. The painting had been kept in a private collection in Florence and was first shown in public in Rome in 2024. Caravaggio, master of a lighting technique to make his subjects seem to come alive, has around 65 surviving known works worldwide, only 3 of which are portraits.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The Nigeria Football Federation has described the passing of its former technical director and 2-time head coach of the Super Eagles, Adeboye Onigbinde, as the exit of a great man. Tribute have continued to pour in for the late quintessential teacher, who was the first indigenous coach to lead Nigeria's senior men's national team to win a silver in the African Cup of Nations in 1984. The governor of Edo State, Monday Okpebholo, has hosted the victorious Team Edo athletes who recently won the second Niger Delta Games held at the state capital, Benin City, in February. The governor received the athletes at the festival hall of the Government House earlier today, commended the contingent for their outstanding performance, clinching 52 gold, 34 silver, and 25 bronze medals to emerge champions. That sports is back to you, Ayo.
And the main news again. The PDP leadership crisis has deepened as Abdurrahman Mohammed's caretaker committee said the appeal court ruling has validated its authority, while Tani Mutaraki's NWC, National Working Committee, insists it remains legitimate. That's news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. You have a good night.